Alright, welcome back to the Shepherd's Crook channel. Hope you guys are doing good today. This is Wood Stove Chronicles. We're back talking about the wood stove. Wanted to thank you for coming back, and also just wanted to remind you up on the front end rather than on the back end of the video that I would love for you to subscribe, and I'm hoping to continue to talk about wood stove stuff, keep working outside, showing you some projects, keep working in the garage a little bit, and I'm obviously going to continue to do the podcast. So the podcast comes out on Mondays and Thursdays typically. And if you're not familiar yet with the Shepherd's Crook and all that we do, I'm a pastor that's coming alongside other pastors, and I'm reminding people of Jesus. I'm wanting people to shepherd like Christ. He is, after all, the chief shepherd. And one of the things that I've realized is that a lot of the pastoral failures that I've seen in my life as I've worked with pastors over the last few years is that pastors typically fail in the area of Christian manhood. It's just a failure of basic spiritual disciplines, of just not knowing how to live life, and getting so caught up in the work of ministry, of preaching, of meeting with people, where it just so consumes you that you just lose what it means to be a Christian man. So one of the reasons I wanted to start the Shepherd's Crook is just to help pastors be healthy. And then with this, what I'm trying to do is just help Christian men, and for guys that are just looking to learn more about Christ, learn more about God's Word, and then learn more about just life in general. I just want to help, and so that's why I'm making these videos, and I really do. I hope they honor the Lord, and I hope they help you. So please consider subscribing to the channel, letting people know about the work, and if you want to support, you can certainly do that by donating, giving. It's in the, if you just go to my channel, you can look at the support link and then support in that way. Okay, today we're talking about the wood stove. It's been so great. Since we've had this in mid-December, we have not needed to turn our heat on a single time, which has been phenomenal. One of the mistakes that I have made already that we're correcting is that we were running the circulate option on our system when we would have this going. And the idea was, since we have the cold air return down here in the basement, that we would turn that circulate on and it would pull this hot air that's happening in the basement and it's coming off, radiating off this wood stove, and it would pull it in across the room and then circulate it up through the house. Well, here's what we realized. We ended up saving about $80 on our bill from a year before till this year, which is great. I mean, $80 is $80. That's phenomenal. But I think we would have saved a whole lot more if we weren't running that circulate option. So we've had circulate off for the whole month of February now. And right now it's 32 degrees, I think, outside, maybe 31 degrees. We don't have circulate on, and our heat is working really well. In fact, right now it's 74 degrees. I'm pretty toasty wearing this shirt and this wool shirt with the thermal underneath, and then sitting right next here to the fire. So it's about 74 degrees right downstairs in the basement, and then upstairs I would guess that it's 71 degrees, 70 degrees, something like that without the circulate. So if you have a wood stove, the thought is the circulate's going to really bring the heat throughout the house, but I think what that actually does is cool down the house, because the house has actually been warmer with the circulate off. But today what I wanted to do is show you a couple things that you're going to need if you do go the wood stove route. The basic tools that you need, and then some fun accessories that you don't necessarily need, but are just fun to have. These little fans here are pretty cool. I'm going to tell you about them here in a minute. But let me just work through what I have, and then you'll, if you're going to be getting a wood stove, or if you have one already, you guys know this stuff. I'm still learning, and you guys have a lot to teach me if I was to just sit down and ask you, because you've been doing wood stove stuff for years. But for me, this stuff's new. Okay. So first off, there's a lot of different things that you can do to clean off this glass. And I've seen different videos. I've seen the ash, where you let the wood stove burn out, you open the door, and when this black creosote buildup from the smoke covers this glass, what you want to do is clean the glass so you can see through it just like you can right now. I keep my glass really clear so you can always see the flame. But you'll get this black smoke residue, this creosote residue buildup that happens on the inside of this fire glass. And so you have to come up with some way of cleaning it. So I've heard guys do like razor blades. Then I've heard people get a wet rag, dip it in the ash, rub it all over the glass, and then wait for a little bit, and then wipe the glass clean. That's all. I'm sure people can do it that way. That's fine. I went to Rural King, or your local Tractor Supply, and for a couple bucks just picked up this liquid lye. You spray this stuff on there, and you watch the black soot, the buildup. You just watch it fall off. And then what I found is the best rag to clean it with is just a brown paper bag. Use a brown paper bag, fold it up, wipe that off, and it just looks really good. So I've been able to keep that clean. You're going to want to have something to do that. And so if you don't know about this, it's just Liquid Lye. It's just really easy. But you guys have your thing that you do that I'm sure works as well. But for me, that's worked really well. Okay, the other thing is you need a good hatchet. If you don't have a good hatchet, go on Instagram or do a Google search for my buddy Joey. I did a video with him last week where he helped me with my axe head, and actually we fixed the handle. He has hatchets from all over the world and can make you an axe, mid-size axe, full-size axe, hatchet, whatever. And he's got just a lot of cool things. He's just a really great follow, like I said last week, and you can get you a hatchet from him, or just go to, I know that Harbor Freight's got a really good hatchet that Wrangler Star reviewed that's only like 12 bucks or something like this. This is the hatchet that I use for down here. This was an old school, I think it's like a Westcraft. I believe this was a little hatchet for the Boy Scouts years ago. And I have this because my wood is right out there, and I go out and I just chop up some kindling. So when I'm starting a fire, I'm going to have some kindling that I need, and so I've got my hatchet right here, and that's what I use. I've got a couple other hatchets upstairs, but this works out really well. I actually need to sharpen this here, but you're going to need you a hatchet to chop up some kindling. Okay, if you ever have a creosote buildup fire, which is a real possibility, you need to clean out your pipes at least once a year. I'm going to be cleaning mine here in about a month and a half, 2 months. And if there's for some reason a lot of buildup inside your drafting pipes, well, you can get a fire that starts in your chimney. You get a chimney fire going. This is really important to get right here. Okay, it looks like a stick of dynamite basically. And what you can do with this is you open it, get it out of the box, break it, you throw it in your wood stove, and you close it, and that will suck up all the oxygen that's in that chimney, and will shut down that fire really quickly. You want to have 2 of these on hand because sometimes 1 doesn't do it, but 2 for sure will do it from what I hear. So you want to make sure and have this just in case you have a chimney fire, because obviously you don't want to burn your house down. I mean, nobody wants to burn their house down at all. Okay, the other things you're going to need are your basic fireplace tools. You're going to have your ash bucket, which right now is out there. It's just a little steel ash bucket. You need a little shovel to be able to get the ashes out, and then you need your little poker to be able to get your hot coals, move your hot coals around. We have a blacksmith in our church. He's a deacon in our church. He's actually the guy that did the taxidermy on the deer that's behind my head, that's coming out of the top of my head when I'm doing videos in my office. And I asked him, would you make me some sort of poker that, for the fire, that's got 3 prongs on it that's a little bit smaller than this. It's about 2 feet rather than, I don't know, 2.5 feet. And he's going to be making me one. It's just going to be neat to have one that's been made by an actual blacksmith that's a friend of mine. But for now, this will do. You're going to need your tools. And then the other thing that I don't have with this little tool set is the little broom that comes with it. So what I use is this little broom right here. Now this is to clean the ashes up that come around and down on the hearth. You have little ash that will fall out of the wood stove, or you're going to have on the hearth. You're going to have, just because you're bringing the wood in all the time, you're going to have wood down there. And Jordan wants me to keep it cleaned up, and so do I. I try to keep this as pretty clean as possible. We have a little baby girl, and so when she's crawling around down here, what is it with babies, right? Like, babies find the littlest things. If there's something small on the ground, they're going to find it, and our little baby girl does that, so we want to keep it cleaned up as much as we can. Okay, right next to the wood stove, you're going to need something to keep your wood, and we picked this thing up. This is a nice leather strap, and that holds our wood for us. So we bring it from the outside, we put it right here. I just threw the last log in, so I'm going to have to pick this up. But if you're going to have a stove, you need a box or some sort of, storage place that you're going to keep the wood inside the house, so you can have wood close by. All right, now let's get to the fun stuff. All right, I like this. For some reason, you guys like me talking about wood stoves, and it seems like the videos that get the most views are about this. There's just something about this, right? I mean, it's just so great having a fire in your home. You can just sit and stare at a fire. I think Bear Grylls a few years ago, we were watching the boys. My boys love watching what's it called, Man vs. Wild, and he talks about how fire is nature's TV, where you just sit and look at it, right? I mean, we have a fire pit area outside. We just love hanging out by a fire. So to have one in the house is just pretty cool. All right, these little things right here are very neat. I gotta be careful that I don't cut myself here or burn myself. This is a little fan that converts the heat that's coming from the stove, and it's got a little heat pad right here, and it converts that heat energy, and it brings it up here to this little motor, and it turns that motor and uses this, it runs this fan. And I love this thing. It requires no batteries, it's just a real simple design. And you put that on top of your stove, and when that stove hits 125 degrees, that starts bringing that heat up, converts it, and gets that into that fan, and then blows that fan. Because I don't have a blower on the back of this stove, so to have that is a really good option, and it spreads the heat really well over the room. Now I have two of these, you can see, because I had one of them and the motor went out. And this one right here, let's see if I can grab it without burning myself. So this one right here, the motor went out. And I thought, since it's a year of me trying to figure out new things and learn how things work, I'll just get a replacement motor. And it was just really easy. I was able to just take that apart, a few screws out, put the new motor on it, and then screw it back in, and voila. I was able to salvage this little unit as well. So now I have two of these that are working and doing a really good job bringing this heat throughout the room. All right, last thing I want to talk about is that little copper tin right there. The, well, whatever this is called, right here. What is this? I can't even remember what this is called. A tea kettle. When you have a fireplace, if you don't know, your air gets incredibly dry. It's like, it gets down to like, I mean, we've had it down to like 36% moisture in this room. We have a little temperature degree unit that tells also the humidity in the room, and it's gotten all the way down, I think, to 36 or 35% in here. So we have a humidifier going on in the basement, and then we also have this tea kettle on top, and that's always bringing that moisture into the air and filling up the room with more and more moisture. If you don't do that, you can get some nosebleeds and get headaches. I was down here, I don't know, for like 6 hours one day, and we didn't have this going right when we had this, and I just felt like I was like in a dehydrator, and ended up getting a headache and all that kind of stuff. So drink water and make sure you get some moisture in the room. Overall, I don't think there's been any negatives at all to getting this wood stove. I mean, it's been a phenomenal addition to our home. And just our home, we built it 5 years ago, and you know, if we were to build again, we would have built a basement with the central piece being the wood stove. Now, since we put this in 5 years later, it actually ended up being in, I think, the best place for it to be down here. So it actually worked out as best as it could have without building this right in from the beginning. So it ended up working out pretty good. What happened is this has to go straight up through the living room. This pipe actually goes up through the living room, and that's one of the reasons why I think it heats the whole house, is because it radiates that heat, and then it goes through the whole living room upstairs and spreads out there, and then it goes right out the roof into the front of our house. So anyways, if you're thinking about getting a stove, you ought to do it. And then if you do it, you've got to get these tools that I told you. These are just the basic tools, and then the fun accessories of these fans. All right, I think that's it, guys. Thanks so much for coming back. You got to check out the video. I want to give a shout out to Torba. He shared our last video, the one with Jordan and I, as we're working through the 6-part series on womanhood. Worship work, help submit, fear nothing, love for ladies. That's who ladies are and what they do. And then I've already done the series on manhood, which is worship work, protect, provide, lead, love. I get the names mixed up. Anyways, thanks so much for coming back, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.